Warning, the following video contains fan-made cutscenes for some additional characters in the 2001 video game, Twisted Metal Black. The intention of these is to reimagine some new stories that weren't added prior to the final release. However, it's all just a fan-made interpretation and is in no way official. These were all made using the help of 11 Labs AI, as well as some clean voice clips found on the web. Also, Twisted Metal Harbor City Stories will premiere this coming summer, and I'll be getting my own original story. Enjoy the show, boys and girls, and remember to keep it twisted.
Last year, everything was perfect. My dad drove this cab. He used to take me with him sometimes. I have a brother, but my dad won't let me talk about him. He said my brother became really bad when he started driving this ice cream truck. My dad hated him, but I didn't. Although he scares me, I feel some sort of connection between us. But me and my dad were like best friends. We were inseparable. But one night, there was this passenger. He had this gun. He killed my dad and then ran. I just sat there while my dad died. But then, I had this idea. I put together this controller. It made my dad alive again. I control him now. People think it's weird. They don't like it. They want to put me in a home and bury my dad. But I don't want him to leave me. I don't want to be alone. That's why I entered this contest. When I win this game, Calypso promises he'll make everything all better. We were knocked unconscious after the battle. I think this was the first time since that night that me and my dad actually spoke to each other. But now that I think about it, it was probably for the best. I began to remember exactly what happened. It was last year. Dad brought me along with him one weekend to go watch some race car driver that he liked. His name was Sam or something. I didn't really care. I wasn't really interested in that sort of thing, but my dad seemed to like it. Despite that, we still had a bit of fun that day. After that, we were tired and ready to go home for the night. We decided to drive through the old suburbs of Midtown. Sure, it wasn't the safest part of town, but it was a little quicker. But as we were stopped at a stop sign, some man approached us. He was quick to notice that my dad was driving a cab. That's when he asked for a ride. I was a real smart kid. I immediately knew something was off about him. Still, Dad was always eager to drive people around. It was his job, after all. But looking back, I should have just told my dad to drive away. But it was already too late. As we came to a stop, the passenger had pulled a gun out and shot my dad. He said something about us being in a family before running away. I don't even know what he meant by that. All I knew was that my dad was about to leave me. I never thought it would happen like that. But as he was taking his last few breaths, he spoke to me. He said, "Son, don't ever forget about me. I love you." After that, he stopped breathing. I was so traumatized from this incident, but that's when my genius mind was finally put to good use. The kids at school always liked to make fun of me, saying that I was the weird kid with special needs. But what they say is wrong. I'm a smart kid. A smart kid who brought his dad back from the dead. I'll never forget about you, Dad. After we win this contest, Calypso will make sure nothing ever tears us apart.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
I had won the contest. I went to Calypso and asked for my prize. He promised that he'd make everything all better. It was a trick. He destroyed my controller. It killed my dad. I begged my dad to come back. I even tried to put the controller back together. But Calypso wouldn't let me. He said things in time would be all better. He said he needed someone to train to take over his contest when he died. He said my brother would have been the perfect choice, but since I killed him, I was the next best thing. He said it was in my blood. My God, will I grow up to be like my brother?
She's gone. My wife is gone. It's been over a year since I've seen her face or heard her voice. I still blame myself for what happened. And it still hurts. Every day I swear I could hear her calling to me, saying that I let her down. It breaks me down in tears knowing that I'm partially responsible for losing her and nearly ending my own life. Ever since then, I've wanted to have my revenge on the bastard that killed her. One day, revenge came rushing at the door. He said his name was Calypso. He was holding some weird contest, and he wanted me to be a part of it. He said if I won, I would not only find out who killed my wife, but I'd also get the revenge I had been aching for too long. This was my chance at being free from the grief that had been eating at my soul for the last year. How could I refuse? In the asylum, sometimes I'd be knocked out from my medication, but this was a whole other story. The meds kept me from remembering. I dreamed of my wife. She was stunning. Me and her did everything together. We even had a son together. Our favorite activity was taking walks in the park. One day we just went on a normal hike, nothing too difficult. I had looked down at my newspaper, but when I looked back up, she was gone. My wife, gone. I looked everywhere, trying to find her. I called for her, yet heard nothing. Like a husband should, I filed a missing persons report, hoping the police would be able to find her. For 3 months, I had hoped and prayed that Joni would turn up, safe and sound. For 3 months, I wanted to believe she would come back to me. And I believed it until one day, I had gotten a surprise delivery, one that I wish I could unsee. It was my wife, in pieces. My dear wife had been murdered. It took us 8 months to get it all back. I couldn't handle it. Having the thought that my loved one was murdered and I wasn't there to protect her broke me, and me and my poor son having to see her dead body was even worse. As a mechanic, I put my skills to the test and built a contraption with my own hands. It was my penance, my punishment for letting her die. People thought I was crazy, but I had no choice. My wife was dead because of me. I had given up on hope and thought that self-torture was the only option. But now I have a chance for vengeance. I will not fail her.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
I had won the contest. I went to Calypso and demanded my prize. I wanted to know who killed my wife. And I wanted revenge. It was him, that freak in the ice cream truck. He was always around the neighborhood. Why hadn't I been more careful? I should have sensed something was wrong. It was my fault. Maybe I really was the one to blame for Joni's death. But then, he spoke to me.
Your wife, she didn't die easy. You should know. She begged for you as I killed her.
The clown is dead. But so is my wife. I will never be free.
Being stuck in here is like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You don't know what would be better. Honestly, I don't even know what would be best for me at this point. After all the shit I had done last year, I should have seen this coming sooner or later. But it felt so damn good, always listening to those screams. Yet it was so heartbreaking at the same time. Taking another person's life is a lot tougher than I could have even thought. That's the reason I was put in here. They told me I needed psychiatric assistance. I told them I was gonna break someone's neck. And then I cried about it afterwards. My brain is nothing but a cluttered mess, making people think I'm a pathetic little crybaby and not someone to be feared. But one day, I had a visitor. The guy's name was Calypso, and he said he was running a deadly contest and he wanted someone like me to compete. If I won, he promised to remove the part of my brain that made me feel empathy for another person's life. I accepted his offer, and now I have a chance to get back into the swing of what I love and hate at the same time. While I was locked up, I usually never slept. But now that I was out, the sleep was just another reminder of how messed up my brain really is. I began to think back to the day I had been finally caught. It was about a year ago. In all of my 12 years of killing, I'd say this could have been my best year yet. More and more bodies piled up each and every day. And the people of Midtown's fear only grew from it. But every time I'd take another person's life, something felt off. I don't know what it was, but each time I did it, the guilt came closer to the point where it was almost unbearable. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Regardless, I still did it. It was like picking at a scab. You know it's unhealthy, but for some reason it always felt so damn satisfying. Only after a while you start to suffer the consequences from all that picking. And consequences I suffered indeed. I was scouting the Midtown skyscrapers. It was roughly 1 o'clock in the morning, so I wasn't expecting anyone to see me up there. It was just after I had killed a special someone sitting on my hit list. But I had just ran away so the police wouldn't find me. As I was up there wandering around, I spotted an unsuspecting prey. It was a fat lady standing on the edge of the skyscraper. I smiled, seeing this as an opportunity to push her off. In all of my 12 years of killing, I don't think I ever pushed someone off a skyscraper before. I didn't even need any weapons. All it took was just a little push. And then this fat lady's body will splatter the streets below. It was gonna be glorious. But as I cautiously snuck up behind her, she had caught me by surprise with what she had done. The chances that she was about to commit suicide right when I was about to push her were so slim. That poor woman was struggling and I wasn't able to end it for her. And unfortunately, the police were already there, trying to get her down. In all of my 12 years of killing, I never thought it'd end with me being framed for a murder that I didn't commit. My luck had just ran out.
There he is! Freeze!
I tried to make a break for it, hoping to escape. That's when the aerial police swooped up and captured me. When I win this contest, Calypso can fix my brain so I can finally become the best killer there ever was. I'll be an unstoppable killing machine. You can mark my words.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
I had won the contest. I went to Calypso and demanded my prize. I wanted him to remove the part of my brain that made me feel so sad whenever I took the human life. I wanted to become the best killer there ever was. Calypso went to work right away. And as a bonus, he didn't just operate on my head. He gave me a new pair of hands. They would become my trademark. When I kill, everyone would know it was me. This was the dawning of a new age of terror. Midtown wasn't gonna know what had hit them. They're so scared of that clown freak. I'll show them something they'll never forget.
Wake up, Black. He's here, Black. In the asylum. Awaken and fulfill your destiny. To kill Calypso. Make me proud, Black. The fires of hell need fuel. I had never seen Black so calm and collected like this. It's almost as if he finally taught himself how to sleep. I never taught him that, but feeling his tame aura makes me feel sentimental towards him, almost like he was the son I never had. And that reminds me of the day my life had started to go downhill. It all started last year. My name is Ash. Me and my family used to live over in the Midtown suburbs. In recent years, the old suburbs had become one of the main hotspots for this unholy competition. Calypso had been affecting the lives of so many innocent people. And although I hate to admit it, I used to admire his work. Being able to run a tournament of death for this long without getting caught is intriguing to me, like he has some sort of supernatural powers beyond our limits. But admiration soon became envy when my family had fallen victim to Calypso's little game. Even if we just had an altercation, Me being forced to watch my childhood home be set ablaze by some competitor was enough to send me over the edge. A few days later, I had gone inside to assess the damage. It was tough seeing the place in such a state. I had lived there for as long as I could remember. Seeing the remains of my family was already bad enough, but considering I said some rather vile things about them before I stormed out, I knew this was a wake-up call. It's amazing what I had sacrificed for the sake of my family. But in exchange, I was given a new family. One with powers that not even Calypso could understand. And with great power comes an even greater responsibility. As a loyal servant to my overlord, I was given the task to create a powerful demon. One that would be strong enough to serve as executioner in our plans on taking down Calypso. He was glorious, and his name was Black. I immediately started to breed him. I showed him all the violent ways he could eradicate that slime ball. Like a cancerous abomination that kills people with no discrimination. But Black's power soon began to rise at such a rapid pace. Eventually, it had gotten to the point where I couldn't even hold a leash on him. That's when we decided it would be for the best to keep him in isolation, hopefully being able to get a grip on his rapidly growing power and strength. But our efforts had soon proven to be useless. Within mere days, Black was able to escape his containment. He had apparently become more powerful than we ever anticipated. I was so proud of him, but my fatherly pride had ended up becoming the reason Black had to suffer. After he escaped, I was advised to look around and retrieve him. I knew having a demonic brute roaming around would be a cause for alarm. That's when I went outside, searching the dark suburban street, hoping I could find him. But I guess someone else had found him first. I stood in the shadows, being forced to watch him suffer on my behalf. There wasn't even anything I could do about it. When he was captured, the soldiers had decided to transport him to a secret lab located beneath the depths of Blackfield Asylum. From there, countless experiments were conducted on him, and it pained me to see him in such a rough spot. But we knew it was only a matter of time before his power would grow strong enough for him to break free from his confinement once again. Now that Calypso's out of hiding, we finally have a chance to take our revenge. And this time, there will be no escape. Mark my words, when Black wins this contest, we'll make sure Calypso's heart is torn straight out of his chest. And he will feast upon it with triumph. In the name of his master, we will
Succeed.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
Black. He had won the contest. I was so proud of him. He was like a son to me. Now we would have our revenge.
So, but where did you go?
But no one was there. I was so naive to think it would be this easy. And my poor Black. It was a trap. At first I thought it was over. All of our dreams dashed, ruined. My family's death still unavenged. But then, there was hope. I knew I had made him strong enough. Black was alive, and as long as we still had Black, we still had a chance to bring down Calypso. Next year, next contest, that's when we'll make our move.
As soon as the clown had been put into the asylum, things had gotten a lot easier for me. No need for competition, just an infinite bloodbath all for me. An assortment of crimson nectar dripping from someone's wounded flesh. It was amazing, being able to kill the innocent freely without interruption. Hell, I even heard that bald little crybaby had recently been caught too. It was just me, lurking the dark streets of Midtown, committing as many murders as I pleased. But knowing them, they'll probably escape their imprisonment one way or another. That's why I entered this contest. If I won, Calypso told me he could grant me the ability to wipe out my competition and make me the bloodiest serial killer there ever was. Looks like he's gotten himself a new competitor for this year's contest. I'm about to paint this tournament red. Blood red. I was out like a vulnerable young lady, smothered in her own flesh and blood. The temptation was killing me. But as I was out, I began to have some vivid dreams. Dreams about... oh no, not him. It was about a year ago. I was casually strolling down a dark street, looking for fresh prey. As I was walking, there was this strong, metallic smell, which is something I'm familiar with, coming from a nearby alleyway. I've never been in that alleyway before. I automatically knew to go down there and check it out. When I reached the end, it was just as I suspected. It was what was left of a 20-year-old female. Her body was covered in blood, having stab wounds all over her. The violence, it was so broken. It was so messy. It disgusted me. I wasn't responsible for that one. That's when I knew something was up. I then turned my head. That's when I saw... Impossible. The people of this town are scared of some stupid circus clown. They aren't afraid of me. This sweet-tooth guy was hogging all the glory. That's when I decided to up my game, murdering my victims in a more grotesque way. That joke of a clown could never know how to mutilate such delicious flesh like I have. The sweet blood that pours out of these innocent people is what keeps me going. And when I win this tournament, Calypso will make sure that the forecast calls for raining blood. 24/7.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
The contest was over, and I was the one with the most bloodshed, so I went and saw Calypso. I asked him to keep his end of the bargain, to make me the bloodiest serial killer there ever was. Everyone was gonna know me. The name Crimson Killer would go down in history as one of the most gruesome murderers there ever was. Calypso tossed me a blade. I looked at it, not knowing exactly what he wanted me to do. He told me that if I wanted to prove that I had what it takes to really be the bloodiest killer of all time, then I had one last job to do. Hands-on kind of work. I like that. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. I agreed to participate in this little bonus round. This was going to be easy. Next thing I knew, I was in some sort of battle arena. Standing before me were my two biggest opponents, that bald little bitch Cage and that pathetic excuse of a circus clown, Sweet Tooth. Killing these two would be a piece of cake. Hell, maybe even a bit of ice cream. But to my surprise, Sweet Tooth was quick to wipe out that little crybaby. Hey,
but he never stood a chance. But I didn't stand much of a chance either. I must have gotten a little too cocky. As I was down, he began to stare at me. Looking him in the eyes made me realize how dumb that mask made him look. Having to hide his identity showed how much of a coward he really was. But then, he spoke to me.
Well, look at what we have here. A pathetic little punk trying to overthrow his king. Did you actually think I was going to let you get rid of me? There is only room for one serial killer in this town, and his name is Sweet Tooth. Not a single soul is going to remember who you were. You're just more trash on the side of the road. Now shut up and bleed, you motherfucker.
I guess I really am the bloodiest serial killer now. I just wish the blood didn't come from me.
My friends always like to call me Angel, but I know I'm anything but that. Angels are like naive little fairies. They fly around like everything's all sunshine and rainbows, oblivious to all the evil there actually is in the world. And after everything I had done, I'm more like the demon who scorched those poor people by mistake, just like my squad. I lost them all. 25 good soldiers, and I was the 26th who ended up being the one to betray them. Oh, how I wish I could undo what I did. Sitting in here ain't been helping. Every day, I get more and more paranoid, and my trauma gets worse and worse. Every noise I hear triggers flashbacks of the incident. But one day, those noises triggered me an opportunity when a certain man paid me a visit. His name was Calypso. He told me about some contest he was running, and he was looking for degenerates like me to compete. He said if I won his game, he had the ability to help me make amends with the past and undo the betrayal that had been eating me alive for the last 5 years. I may not be an angel, but this was most definitely an opportunity from God. Now I could finally get a chance to save my people that I wrongfully betrayed. How could I refuse? While I was in the joint, the doctors always wanted to know exactly what happened to me. Of course, I just chose to keep my mouth shut. It was none of their business. But now that I was out, those traumatic thoughts had become much worse than before. I began to relive that horrific incident all over again. It was 5 years ago. I was in a private-owned military. I was the leader of a small gang. We called ourselves the Avenging Angels. We weren't just a group of professionally trained assassins. We were like family. We were stationed over in some base camp in the Middle East. Over time, we had become so close to each other. We trusted each other with our lives. We all had each other's back. But our contact had sent us over there to straighten out a group of neo-Nazi dirtbags. These guys called themselves Apocalypse 9. They were a small terrorist group that raised all sorts of hell around the world. They soon became a thorn in my boss's side, and it was our job to broker peace with them, or just burn them into oblivion. It was a very questionable move on our boss's part, almost like he wanted it to happen. Looking back, he should have known that it was a bad business decision on his end. As a leader, it was my duty to watch out for my squad, as they would for me. But one day, the leader of Apocalypse 9 called upon me with some sort of peace offering. The case was huge. I didn't know what to think of it at first, but when he opened it, good God, it was beautiful. $1 million just sitting there right in front of my face. He said it could be all mine. All we had to do was leave them alone and cut off our current contract. Even if it was considered poultry to some, I grew up poor. All that money would fix a lot of problems, both for me and for my family. I almost couldn't resist the temptation. But no amount of money is worth the price it soon costed me. As foolish as it was for me to even consider taking the bait, I should have paid more attention. It was all a trick. These deranged bastards had set me up so one of them could just lure my team into an enemy ambush and ignite them into flames. Seeing your people, your family, seeing them burn alive, hearing them scream in agony, it can take a toll on one's brain. And I think my brain had finally switched onto kill mode that day. I just lost it. My poor allies, the ones who had trusted me to watch their backs. I had always promised to look out for them, and I had failed them. I was angry, I was upset, and I was filled with absolute and pure rage. And in the end, I was more angry at myself for allowing it to happen. Many worthless lives had been taken that day, but nowhere near enough to bring back the good ones that were lost. I torched that place into flames like the hellscape it was, and then I fled. I limped for miles, trying to find someone or somewhere to get help. My feet were swollen, my skin was burnt, and more than anything, my mind had been mentally scarred. I didn't think I was gonna make it, and looking back, I wish I didn't. I eventually stumbled into a nearby village. That's when a little girl had spotted me, witnessing me looking broken, beaten, and scarred. I passed out from the exhaustion, and she ran off to get help. But I wish she would have just left me there to die. I woke up in the IC unit the next day, but I must have been still feeling the aftershock of what happened. That's when I got deported back over to the States for psychotherapy, or whatever. It was all my fault that I let those 25 good people die like that. I was gonna have to live with the pain for the rest of my life, and there was nothing I could do to change the past. Until now. I don't know what Calypso has in mind, but there has to be a way out of this hell. And when I win, I'll find it no matter what the cost.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
The contest had finally come to an end. I was the winner, and now it was time to pay a little visit to Calypso. I asked him if it was true. Could he really send me back in time to save my squad? Or was he just some con artist trying to play with my emotions? At first, he seemed a little hesitant. I can give you time, he said. But to go back just to change the future could lead to an infinite amount of consequences, unless given proper protection. That's when he offered me this glass. He said inside held some special potion. He told me if I drank it, not only would I be sent back 5 years to save my squad, but I'd also be given a special bonus to harness the power of immortality. I couldn't believe it. Calypso said he saw a lot of potential in me, that he wanted me as his personal bodyguard as soon as I got back, but he needed an angel to do it. I was touched by this. As much as I liked to decline, this was most definitely an offer that I didn't want to pass up. I happily accepted this life-changing offer, and next thing I knew, I was back. 5 years ago, the same day Apocalypse 9 called me to meet at their base camp. It was just moments before my squad had been lured to the ambush. I should have known from the get-go that these greaseballs weren't trustworthy, and I should have known better not to deal with devils like them. I didn't spend my years training as a professional killer for no reason. Many worthless lives were taken that day, just like last time. Bodies of a bunch of greasy scumbags piled up left and right, all wiped into extinction. And their base? Yeah, let's just say that it met the same fate as before. Only this time it was done out of passion. Besides, it seemed a lot more fitting for what their home should look like. Hell, I even took the money. $1 million can go a long way for a girl like me. But the most important thing of all is, I was able to spare the 25 lives that had originally been lost that day. I definitely owe my loyalty to Calypso for everything he's done for me. Because of him, my fellow teammates had been saved. While I was in the asylum, I heard stories about some kind of doomsday cult terrorizing the streets of Midtown. Just like Apocalypse 9. Someone's got to do a cleaning on the streets. And I think that someone should be me. I feel compelled to wipe them extinct. Something tells me that they're a threat to the man who granted me an eternal life. A life as an angel. And as an angel, it's my job to make sure my master is safe. Me and Calypso will be seeing each other very soon. I'm ready to serve him as a guardian angel. Anyone who tries to screw with him will be ripped to shreds. I am Angel, a trained assassin forever loyal to Calypso. And I will spend the rest of my days looking for the right people to compete in his contest each and every year. Judgment Day is coming, and the world shall soon be in rubble. I'm gonna be an angel of death, and I'm here to bring upon the apocalypse. The people of Midtown's lives are about to become a living hell, and ain't no one gonna stand in my way.
Last year, everything was just perfect. I was living the life, the dream. The name Sam Boomer actually meant something to people. It was a name that carried the reputation of a rising star, someone who's got nothing left to lose. But now, the only reputation that name can carry is an absolute freak. A man who somehow survived a horrific crash and lost the part of his body he needed to think, or to seem normal at least. My career had been ruined. Ever since the accident, I disappointed many once adoring fans, and ever since then my memories have been very fuzzy. And hearing these doctors ask the same questions over and over again isn't exactly helping me. To be honest, not even I know how I'm still alive. For all I know, I actually did die that day, and I'm just a living corpse at this point. But I guess even corpses can still feel the blisters on their skin, the throbbing pain in the spot where their head used to be. But one day, all that changed when a very special fan of mine had paid me a visit. He said his name was Calypso, as if that was supposed to mean something to me. Said he was in charge of some demolition derby, and he was looking for people like me to compete. First prize was anything the winner asked for. In my case, this meant I had the chance to find out what had happened to my severed head. A man isn't supposed to live without the thing, and it's been long enough since that fateful day. How could I refuse? I mean, let's face it. Who wants to spend the rest of their lives looking like a headless freak? It's pretty odd being knocked out, especially since I lacked the thing I need to have consciousness in the first place. But now that I was back on the road, I was able to think more clearly. I started to reminisce on the glory days right before everything came crashing down. There I was, Sam Boomer, a rising star in the Midtown stock racing circuit. I had just won my 5th tournament only a couple of months before. But for my 6th championship race, I was up against some poser from outside of the country. So many adoring fans from all around the globe were excited to see me win this race, It was amazing, to say the least. But I guess some things are never meant to last. Many fans of 12-Pack had experienced some major disappointment that day. All I could hear was the sound of the crowd, shocked at the disappointment they had just witnessed. I remember there was this smell of burning in the air. I just laid in there, feeling the fire slowly cook my helpless body like a 4th of July barbecue. The vertebrae in my neck was crushed from the impact. I almost thought I was dead. And sometimes, I wish I was. Now, I'm starting to remember what happened after that. I had heard a voice frantically shouting from the stands, sounded like a deranged lunatic. And the last thing I can recall was the sound of someone leaping onto the track and running towards me. Eventually the paramedics arrived, but once they managed to get my body out of the car, they were in for a gruesome surprise. From what I've heard, I still had a pulse, and a small chunk of my brain had also remained fully intact. It was freaky. The paramedics were able to revive me despite being decapitated. It's almost like they wanted to keep me alive just so I could suffer. And I bet it has something to do with making me their guinea pig for science or some crap. The docs always told me I was a miracle, like that was a good thing. But once word spread about my horrendous physical condition, well, I guess the people of Midtown didn't seem to feel the same way that the doctors did. All of the people I once considered loyal fans had seemingly turned on me, like this was an opportunity for everyone to get their 5 seconds of fame. Eventually I was sent over to the loony bin for further testing. But that's it. The memories just sort of end there. There's a maniac on the loose, and they've stolen my head and ruined my career. And I sure as hell would like to get it back. When I win this contest, meeting a guy like me will make them lose theirs. And that's a promise I'm definitely gonna keep. You can count on that.
Violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
Well now, looks like I was the champ once again. It's good to know that I never lost my charm. And now I was able to reclaim my trophy. So I went and saw Calypso. I asked him to keep his promise, to bring me the dirty bastard who nabbed my head on the day of the crash. Turns out, he's still one of the loyal ones. Said it was time to do a special meet and greet with one of my fans. And that's when everything started to make sense. Good Lord, I remember now. There was this guy, always claiming to be my biggest fan. He was always there at the racetrack, obsessively watching me rise to fame like the drunken freak he was. He even scared a few people off with his inappropriate behavior, always yelling and cursing over me. Calypso told me that he was the one responsible for everything. For setting me up with Watts, for messing with my engine before the race. And most importantly, for stealing what was rightfully mine. I was furious. The fact that I let some no-good, low-life fan of mine cause all this damage was embarrassing. Because of his shenanigans, my dreams of being successful in the Midtown stock racing scene were ruined. This wasn't even a real fan, just some psychotic nutjob responsible for ruining the reputation of 12-Pack and stealing the driver's head like it was a souvenir. But I definitely consider Calypso as a true fan. He even offered me a special bonus prize for being such a great contestant. Although I would have preferred running the son of a bitch over, I knew a slow and painful death was a much more fitting punishment. This guy took everything from me, turned me into a freak without a head. I just knew payback had to be brutal, which is why I did what I had to do to make it right. For justice. For me. It was poetic, really. Even though I'd gotten my head back, I don't think I'll be needing it anymore. Considering it had been sitting there unattached from my body for over a year, it started to get all decrepit and gross. But now I remember. I have a family to take care of. I haven't seen my boy in over a year, and I don't think I need to expose him to his horribly disfigured daddy. I think it's about time I put my racing days behind me. As much as I hate to admit it, ripping my fan's head off was kind of therapeutic. And since the people of Midtown want to perceive me as some sort of headless monster, I may as well give it to them. Everyone will soon know me as their headless horseman, and my name is Severed Sam. I can't afford to lose my reputation, and I just know there's still a little bit of hope left for me if I'm still alive after all this time. But Midtown's fears of the clown are about to come to a screeching halt, because we're going headhunting. Until I find a head that's right for me, nobody's gonna be safe. And I'll make sure I won't show any mercy. You can count on that.
The people of this town, they'd be helpless without me. As soon as all these crazies started popping up, I had been patrolling these streets like a hawk for the last 10 years. The people of Midtown had better appreciate all the hard work I've done for them. I've worked my fingers to the bone, just trying to make some kind of difference in this screwed up world we live in. But I know there'll always be more crazies just lurking out there. And I can't be expected to catch all of them.
Razer. Come in, Razer. It's Calypso. He's broken into the asylum. All the guards are dead. The patients have all escaped. You have to stop him. He's running a twist.
Looks like I've got a code 4432. And that means only one thing. The patients of Blackfield Asylum are all gonna die tonight. It's time to settle this once and for all. Calypso, he'd better run, 'cause I'm coming for him. And I ain't gonna show no mercy. In all the years I've been flying, I don't think I'd ever been knocked out by a tanker before. But as much as I hate to admit it, this is the most sleep I've gotten as of late. I was finally able to think about why these crazies can't be allowed on the streets. It all started 11 years ago. We were outside of some sleazy hotel located in the downtown area. There had been reports of gunfire in the building. When we got there, we found out that some nut had broken out of a mental institution. This guy was a real psycho, desperate as hell, holding himself inside like a wild animal. And we were sent there to flush him out. I was accompanied by a new rookie that I had been training. We called him Agent Stone, and he had it pretty rough. When he was a child, his home had been burnt down by some crooks with his mother still inside. It was a sad case, and it was my job to look out for the poor guy. Going in, we didn't know what to expect. We had navigated the hotel's corridors. I told Stone to keep his eyes peeled, because this was most certainly a dangerous mission. I had dealt with a lot of scumbags before, but for some reason, this was different. Stone heard that psycho scurrying around in the darkness, and I heard it too. That's when I loaded up, ready to fire at any given moment, and there was no room for mistakes. But as it turned out, that psycho had a few tricks up his sleeve. I didn't even see it coming, but it was too late. The insane bastard had shot me, right in the eye. I couldn't see straight. I tried to get a clean shot, but every single bullet missed. The fool had led us on a wild goose chase, but we let him slip through our fingers. Both of us had felt defeated as the sirens blared in the distance. We knew for a fact that we had botched this mission. I reported back to my boss, who was the commissioner of the Midtown Police Department. I expected nothing but the worst.
This is inexcusable, Razer. We trusted you with this job, but your arrogance has led to failure. It's a shame, as I expected better from you. You are one of the best, if not the best, but you should already know the consequences for failure. It pains me to say this, but we're going to have to demote you.
That night, I lost more than just my eye. I lost my rank, my pride, my sense of invincibility. I let that psycho slip away, and I had to pay the price. I just sat in there, looking at my own reflection, like I was some sort of failure. I was ashamed of myself, but I knew that I could do better. That I could be better. I got back out there, and I worked my fingers to the bone trying to clean up the streets of Midtown. It was my sworn duty both to the people and to myself. From there, I managed to catch some of Midtown's most notorious criminals, and there's still some out there just waiting to be captured, just like Calypso. I promised the commissioner that I wouldn't botch this mission. And that's a promise I'm willing to keep. And now that Calypso's out of the shadows, I finally have a chance to make good on that promise. Midtown's counting on me, and I will not fail. The contest had come to a screeching halt. They were all dead. So I went and confronted Calypso. I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Calypso had ruined so many innocent lives. It was about time justice was served. He had congratulated me for winning his contest, despite the fact that I was uninvited. He told me that I could wish for whatever my heart desired. But I wasn't gonna take the bribe. I had killed all of the patients of Blackfield. I had killed Agent Stone, all just so I could get close to Calypso. After all the misery that he's caused over the years, I wanted to put him away in a body bag. I had shot Calypso right in the gut, but it had proven to be ineffective.
Oh! You shot me! How dare you!
Just a taste of the pain you've caused others, Calypso. But don't worry, you won't die so easily.
Ah! You're persistent. I'll give you that. But maybe you should reconsider what you're doing. You see, I am a necessary evil. If it weren't for me, you and that blasted commissioner wouldn't have a job. I'm merely providing a service. So please, put the gun down and arrest me instead. There's no need for violence. Good boy. The commissioner has trained you very well. A noble move. Stupid, but noble.
Next thing I knew, I was down. I couldn't believe I had fallen for Calypso's little trick. I just laid there, feeling helpless. My enemy was on top of me.
Say your prayers, Black Razer. It's time to finally meet your demise. It's funny. Even after creating a false projection of a battle with you to end the contest, I still remain victorious over the real thing. So long, old friend. May you forever rot in hell.
Move it! Go, go, go!
What's this? Who dares interrupt our little confrontation? Ah!
That's it, boys. Take him away. Bag him up. He's not going anywhere. I'm so sorry, Razer. We tried. But you're a real hero.
I miss the old and colorful world. It's a shame it has to be this way. But it wasn't my fault, as far as I know. But maybe it is my fault. I don't know. But I've got my own problems to worry about. He's the one who keeps me chained up all day. Being locked in here, it sure as hell makes a doggy want to go wild. And it doesn't help that I keep having these awful nightmares of me killing people.
Please, no, I gotta...
But I know none of it is real. Calypso told me that my mind is a powerful thing. And that's why I'm attached to this machine, because I'm his minion. It's been so long, I've damn near forgotten who I actually am. All I know is that I'm supposed to be driving a big old truck. And I guess the brute next door to me must have had a score to settle. He wanted Calypso dead, and I didn't blame him. But one day, we had ourselves a little visitor. It was Calypso. He had broken into the asylum. The crazy bastard had killed all the guards. Seems like he was running yet another contest. And this year, he was using the patients of Blackfield as competitors. The guy next door to me knew he was here, which is exactly why he had to break us out. I may be no rocket scientist, but I know an opportunity when I see one. Now, I finally have a chance to save us. We will return to our old world one day, and that day is today. My heart was racing like 1,000 miles per hour. I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed. Not only had I fought a bigger version of myself, but I had also seen myself explode right before my very eyes. I couldn't believe it. I had felt like I was going nuts. Now I knew for a fact that none of this was real. This dark and disturbing world was all just a hallucination. And Calypso was the one in charge of it all. To make any sense of it, I needed to explore the darkest depths of my psyche. I needed to go back several years to when the madness started. I began to recall the events leading up to this point, and there was no going back. In the real world, my name is Marcus Kane. I was just a regular guy, working a 9-to-5 shift as a neighborhood ice cream man. Oh my God, it's me. I'm the freak driving the ice cream truck. By day, I was always around the neighborhood, smiling and waving. But at night, something was wrong. Some nights, I'd often hear a voice calling to me from within.
Come on, you coward. Don't you want to play? It's time to play. Come on, Marcus, let me out. We're gonna have so much fun.
I knew I had problems, but this was something else. I had a split personality, an inner demon of sorts, and his name was Needles. The bad side of me, the one with all these murderous fantasies. Needles is one crazy son of a gun. Oftentimes he'd try to claw his way out of my mind and take control over me. As much as I had those old urges of mine, I kept them to myself for the most part. Otherwise, people would think I'm crazy. But one thing was for certain. Needles had to be stopped. Now, you're probably wondering how I got to know Calypso. Well, I'ma tell you. It all happened some years back. Me and my pops were just taking a little drive in his car. But then, he called.
Come on, Marcus. Let me take the wheel. I want to go for a little joyride. Marcus. Marcus!
Marcus!
I done messed up and let the clown take control over me. I ended up crashing my pop's car, and it instantly killed him. I, on the other hand, was severely injured. When the ambulance arrived, I was immediately rushed to the ER. My body was in critical condition, and I didn't think I was going to hold out for much long. And looking back, I wish I would have just died. Because this is where things start to get shaky. As they pushed me down the halls, I started to see things. Bad things. I didn't even know what to make of it. Then, I found myself laying in a dark room with tubes and wires sticking out of my skin and didn't think I was gonna make it. I was about ready to slip into a coma. That is, until two gentlemen came waltzing in through my door. They started talking, and I didn't like what I was hearing.
Looks like it is your day, Mr. Kane.
Come now, Needles. Do not be afraid, for we are here to help. Becker, fire up your machine.
Certainly.
Let's see how Mr. Kane here fares in the world of twisted metal, as my lackey, my champion for each year's competition. Your mind is a powerful thing, Mr. Kane, and I cannot let that go to waste. Either way, you are mine to do with as I please.
And that's how I ended up in this mess. Calypso has been using me as the core to power his machine. I've been stuck in here ever since. This is how he sees the world, how Needles sees his life. In here, he's the dominant personality. All of us are connected, and it's my duty to put an end to this nightmare, once and for all. When I win this contest, I will get the peace that I deserve. Don't worry.
Boys and girls.
I will prevail.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
I had won the contest. And now, it was time for the moment of truth. It was time to be free. So I went and saw Calypso, and I asked him for my prize. All I wanted was to return to the old and colorful world that I once knew. All I wanted was freedom. And yet, he seemed hesitant. He told me that my participation in this year's contest was a grave mistake. He told me that I shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Ah, Marcus, I always knew you'd be the one to figure it out. Yes, it is true. This world is nothing more than an illusion, a false construct of your sick and twisted mind, which is exactly why you were the perfect candidate to power this machine. But you have broken the rules.
And what about the fake version of myself I had fought during the middle of your contest?
That version of you was merely a reflection of your subconscious mind. After you decided to escape, the machine malfunctioned and created a larger version of you to act as the dominant form. When you destroyed him, parts of your mind were destroyed as well, which is most unsuitable. You should have never left Blackfield, Marcus. Without you at the core, this world is slowly facing a steady collapse. Because of you, my vision will mean nothing.
But what about my prize?
You were not invited and have in fact ruined my contest. You get no prize. You get no...
What?
Okay. Perhaps something can be arranged. But just know, there are some wishes that even I can't grant completely, Needles. But I'll do what I can for now.
He's awake.
Good God, son, you're alive.
Am I really alive? Or did Calypso screw me over? Ever since I had woken up, something's felt off. This old and colorful world doesn't feel like the same one I once knew. I think I might still be trapped.
Rest easy, Mr. Kane. Hopefully, this will give you some peace until you're able to wake up. Becker?
Yes, sir.
Move him to your facility. He's not going anywhere. For now, at least.
My family put me in here. They think it was my brother's death that made me lose it, and I honestly can't blame them. If I were my family, I would have locked me up too. I've robbed people, killed people. Hell, some of the ones I killed, I know they didn't have it coming.
Oh, you think you're tough? Come on, motherfucker! Bring it! Bring it!
I miss my brother. Ever since he's been gone, life hasn't been the same. I live each day with regret, wishing that he was still here. But one day, I had a visitor, and that's when everything changed. The fool said his name was Calypso. He said he ran a contest, and he wanted me to be a part of it. He said if I won, I would be able to see my brother again. He said he could bring him back. Well, I'll be damned. He knew. How the hell could he have known? Calypso said he had some wicked powers beyond my imagination. He said that resurrection was a possibility. I had spent over 2 years grieving over Brucey's death. He was my brother, my homie for life. If what Calypso says is true, then this was definitely something that I didn't want to pass up. How could I refuse? In the asylum, I was always messed up on some kind of weird drugs. I never really thought about what had happened to me. But now that I was out, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I began to remember what had happened that fateful night, the night that I lost my brother. It all happened a couple of years back. Me and Brucey had went to the gas station to fill his car up. We were in a bad part of the neighborhood, so I knew we had to make it quick. Brucey had gone inside to get himself something to drink. Meanwhile, I stayed outside and filled the car up. We needed the gas. But we were in the territory of a rival gang. Soon enough, I knew going to that gas station was a big mistake. As soon as Brucey had come out, one of the gang members had decided to do a drive-by. When I heard those first shots, I immediately got down on the ground. But Brucey, oh poor Brucey. Soon afterwards, the cops showed up. I couldn't believe what had just happened. My poor brother got shot and killed, and it was all my fault. The cops didn't seem to give a damn about my dead brother. They were more worried about the gas pumps. I kind of lost it. And that's when I decided to take matters into my own hands. So I went on a rampage. I spray painted Brucey's car. I was on the hunt to find the person who murdered my brother. I quickly became a known street thug in Harbor City. I had robbed and killed so many people. Hell, I've nearly lost count.
Please, God, you want to meet God? No, please don't.
Eventually, I did manage to find the punk who killed my brother on that fateful night, and I made short work of him.
Oh, you think you're tough? Come on, motherfucker! Freeze! Freeze!
But even after I had gotten my revenge, it didn't fix the pain. In fact, it made it worse. I was still without a brother, and not having him around was honestly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever endured. Eventually, my family decided it would be for the best to lock me up in Blackfield for psychiatric treatment. I was so torn up over Brucey's death that I lost myself in the process. I really want to see my brother again, and Calypso promises he can do that for me. All I have to do is win his contest. As long as he ain't playing around, then now's my chance to bring Brucey back from the dead.
You're in violation of Midtown City Code 4432. Step out of your vehicle and surrender peacefully. Time's up.
I had won the contest. And now, it was time to see if the rumors were true. Could Calypso really bring my brother back from the dead? Or was he just some sick punk trying to play games with me?
Oh, you think you're tough? Come on, motherfucker! Freeze! Freeze!
As it turned out, Calypso was a man of his word. I got my prize, all right? I couldn't believe it. It really was Brucey, looking good as new, like nothing ever happened.
Hey, bro, it's been a while.
Calypso had done it. I don't know how, but he'd done it. I never thought it could be like this. Calypso thanked me for being such a great contestant. He sent me and Brucey on our merry way. He also told us that we were more than welcome to enter next year's contest, as it was going to be held in Harbor City. And then, he waved goodbye.
Come on, bro. Let's get out of here.
We went outside. I knew Brucey wasn't gonna like what I did to Thumper.
Yo, what the hell did you do to my car?
Look, Brucey, I've got a lot of explaining to do.
You're damn right. How long was I gone?
You were dead for 2 years, Brucey.
Wait, really? I was dead? Huh, how come I don't remember it?
Beats the hell out of me.
Ah, whatever. Come on, bro, let's get back to the hood. Hey, before we get back, let's get my car resprayed.
And so, the Cochrane brothers were back together again. I was so relieved to have Brucey back. And now that the competition was over, the bridge to Harbor City had opened back up. It was time to go back home and start a new chapter of our lives. Me and Brucey were going places. And ain't no punk was gonna stand in our way.